We all know what time it is. It's season 12. We've got a new Olympus and some new goals for our season, whether we're pushing ranked or grinding out the battle pass and all the awesome rewards. And with all that said, it's time for a new tier list. Now, I want to start this one off by saying this tier list was really hard to make. With all the changes, map rotation, and honestly, just every legend being in a pretty good spot, it wasn't easy to place the legends that are lower on this list. But with that out of the way, guys, let's get right into the tier list. So guys, I have a quick disclaimer. Like I just said in the intro, every legend is strong. If you're really good on a certain legend, don't let this list sway you from taking them into your matches. Being comfortable on a legend low on this list will serve you better than playing nothing but top tier legends that you're not very good with. But alright, with all that being said, let's start with the S tier. To no surprise, we're starting off the S tier with Gibraltar. Gibby's on-the-go defenses are still top-notch, and while the new legend has some great counterplay to him, the big man is still going to be dominant. His abilities come together to make him super tanky, and allow him to bring that defense to his squad with his bubble and ultimate. Regardless of the map, Gibby makes a great addition to any squad. Up next, we've got Bloodhound. While certain areas of World's Edge or King's Canyon can be a bit tough to cover with blood scans, on Olympus, they don't have much trouble at all. Information is power, people, and Bloodhound is still the most consistent at gathering info for their team. You'll need to be careful to not get caught trying to hit scans across open areas of Olympus, but most of the POIs you can easily cover with a scan. And if you need to deal with those large gaps on the map, well, that's where popping Beast of the Hunt comes in, allowing you to cover ground quickly. Also finding herself in the S tier is our favorite pilot, Valkyrie. Her ultimate remains a powerful tool on Olympus for navigating the map, and her VTOL jets can traverse basically any building. Her ability to find unique angles quickly and take height with ease continue to be a big reason why she's so powerful. Add on her ability to hit survey beacons and some long-range CC, and you have a lot of power packed into one legend. So if you've liked playing Valk in the past, you can feel great about keeping at it in this season. And rounding out our S tier, we have Ashe. Ashe's portal allows her teammates to quickly traverse a lot of areas on Olympus. While the range doesn't let you get everywhere, it does the job for most sections of the map. Her portal is a much quicker and quieter way to move your team than abilities like Octane's jump pad or Wraith's portal. She's slowly risen in power as Octane got some nerfs, and Wraith isn't quite as strong on Olympus in particular. So if you want that mobility for your team while still having some CC and info in your kit, you can't go wrong with Ashe in Season 12. And another thing you can't go wrong with here in Season 12 is heading over to ProGuides.com for a coaching session. Starting off the season strong is important, and making sure you have a clear path to improvement will have you reaching a higher level of play than you ever have before. So what are you waiting for? Try it out today in the top link in the description below. Moving into the A tier, we have the legend that you've all wanted to hear about, Mad Maggie. Her aggressive playstyle keeps her enemies on the back foot, and she's entered the game in a pretty strong spot. Her entire kit promotes pushing enemies and disrupting fights, from her tactical dealing damage to her ultimate CCing and doing a little bit of extra damage. When you add in the speed boost from her ult, as well as her ability to sprint full speed with a shotty, she is a force to be reckoned with, and man does she feel good to play. Oh, and don't forget the scans when she deals damage to enemies. Just from talking about her values, you can see that she has entered Season 12 in a really strong spot. But we'll have to see how people adapt to her and start playing against her. Different interactions like her ability to use her tactical on Gibby's bubble could eventually make her even stronger as people really figure out where she fits into the game. Regardless, she's in a pretty good spot and worth picking up if you've been itching for a new pick. Following up Maggie in the A tier is another aggressive pick, Octane. Olympus has always been Octane's domain, but with the nerfs to his pad and stim since the last time the map was here, he's just not as strong as he once was. Don't get me wrong, a good Octane will still dominate on this map, but he isn't the one-size-fits-all mobility pick that he was in previous seasons. Now, one thing he still has going for him is he's still one of the simpler mobility legends. And if you have good movement, you can absolutely dominate. Now, if you love Octane, then stay on the grind. But if you've been looking for some other alternatives, maybe try out Mad Maggie, Ashe, or even Valkyrie. Up next in the A tier, we have the Queen of Olympus, Horizon. This is her home turf, and this map really lets you bring the most out of Horizon's kit. Her tactical can reach nearly every building on the map, and the open spaces of Olympus allow her to get really good use out of her black hole. While she doesn't quite have all the tools some of the other legends have, her gravity lift has a ton of unique uses, and her ultimate is really powerful when used in tandem with her team. If you're looking for a stable, team fighting focused pick that's also good for playing solo, you can't go wrong with Horizon. Moving down the list, we have the recently buffed Crypto. Crypto mains can kind of rejoice because the surveillance expert has finally gotten some hotfix buffs. He can now throw his drone in front of him about 25 meters without needing to first enter the drone. This is huge because it allows him to get quick scans and potentially set up the drone for EMP plays without needing to actually take the time to pilot it. Now, while the scan isn't as far or consistent as, let's say, Bloodhound's, it definitely speeds up and smooths out Crypto's ability to gather info. Not always having to be piloting the drone is huge for Crypto, and constantly looking to toss it out and recall it as needed has made him much stronger. And rounding out the A tier, we have another portal abuser, Wraith. While she's still the same powerful legend that we're all used to, her kit can really struggle on Olympus. There's a ton of areas on the map that are simply too open for her to get a good portal placement, and her tactical struggles due to similar reasons. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're a nasty Wraith player, she's still really good. But if you're into the whole interdimensional portal vibe, consider giving Ashe a shot for Olympus. Moving into the B tier, we're starting off with our friend Pathfinder. As always, if you're good with his grapple, this is a top tier pick. But since the grapple requires so much practice and his only other tool is his zipline, he finds himself in the B tier. Path's grapple is really good on Olympus, allowing him to soar over buildings or take high ground quickly in almost every POI. There's not a whole lot more to say about the friendly robot, and if you're a grapple god, obviously you know he's a lot better than B tier. Next up in the B tier is the legend that stocks up her teammates throughout the entire game, Loba. While she doesn't have a lot of combat utility, her ability to make sure you're looted and have ammo throughout the whole game comes in really clutch. Good Loba players can give their teams advantages before a fight ever starts, and having access to the black market at later stages of the game is really strong. Olympus doesn't affect her too much, and she remains a stable pick for this season. Following up Loba with a bang, it's old Fusey Boy. With his sister Mad Maggie being added, he's got some competition in the firepower department. But where she excels in close quarters, Fuse is all about bombarding enemies from afar. Olympus has a lot of clear lines of sight for him to get good use of his abilities, but the popularity of aggressive picks can make it a bit tough for Fuse at times. He lacks mobility or defenses, but as long as you're playing safely and being mindful of your positioning, he's another solid pick that can be great at teamfighting. Caustic is up next, and after receiving some nerfs or buffs, he slid down a tiny bit in priority. The main reason is because Olympus is not his best map, and now that his barrels can be destroyed after activation, I think he's not as strong. Don't get me wrong, his gas still pumps damage, and his ult is insane. But with how open Olympus is and how small a lot of the buildings are, defensive picks like the Gas Man just aren't going to be as strong in this season. Similar to Caustic, Watson finds herself in the middle of the pack due to not performing very well on Olympus. Now, if she has the right situation set up, she's really strong. But the chances of her getting that perfect scenario are a lot lower on this map. Seer's up next with a ton of info gathering to bring to a team. His ultimate gives your team an insane edge when committed to a fight or defending a push, and his scan and passive allow you to hunt down those nearby enemies when his ult isn't up. This being said, he's a bit more of a defensive scanning legend, and with Crypto getting a buff, this does knock him down a little bit in priority. Now, if you fell in love with Seer, he can definitely fill the scanner role and bring value to a team. However, if you're looking for a pick that does a little bit better, try out Crypto or Bloodhound. And finally, to round out our B tier, we have Bangalore. She hasn't received much love from the devs lately, which has led to her falling behind some of the newer legends. This being said, good usage of her abilities can bring a lot of value, and her double time passive is still really nice. Overall, she's not a bad solo legend and can play her life really well, but she just doesn't bring the power to a team that a lot of the legends higher on the list do. And moving into the C tier, these are legends that are gonna struggle a little bit this season. But again, in the right hands, they can totally dominate. But if you have a soft spot for one of these legends and you're looking for a different option, I would really recommend giving some of the higher up picks a try. First up, Lifeline. She can res and heal fast, and her care package can give some nice armor upgrades. She puts a timer on enemies if they down someone, as you can get a free res of the down player if they're behind cover. Lifeline just isn't the battle medic she used to be, and can definitely struggle if you're looking to be proactive with your team or push advantages. Mirage also finds himself in the C tier, with his kit just not having a lot of value unless you're really good at him. He relies on bamboozling opponents, which requires a lot of intelligence out of the player to use his abilities in a smart way, as well as the enemies falling for the trick. He lacks any CC, damage, or scans, and for this reason, most players will struggle to get much value out of him. Moving on, we have Rampart. Now, if she has enemies rushing her while she's set up with Sheila at the ready, she can pump damage. But the reality is, she doesn't get many opportunities for this, especially on Olympus. She falls into similar issues as Watson and Caustic, but her holding requires her to be even more exposed to enemies to deal damage, causing it to be even harder for her. Again, if you're good at forcing enemies to play into you, Rampart's not a bad option, but this season she's not looking that great. And last but not least, we have Revenant. Guys, you might be a little mad about this one, but Olympus is a tough map for this guy, leaving him very few options for his totem. While he is good with picks like Octane and Wraith or even an Ashe, his playstyle is just too slow and requires a lot of setup. Now, obviously, if you have a group of friends, he could be pretty good. The only reason I put him this low on the list is because I would not recommend playing him as a solo or even rely on using him in a 3-stack. No matter what legends you're going to be playing, if you understand their kit and put in the time, you can get some serious results. But if you're struggling with who you're going to be playing this season, hopefully this list sheds some light on who's going to be strong and who will help you get some dubs this season. As always, guys, it's been your boy Valued. Make sure to hit that sub button for non-stop content all throughout Season 12, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.